yes, Texas Tech has found their way into the Elite Eight, but they had to do it on Thursday night against the team, you brought it up earlier, that basically sleepwalked through the first 3 months of the season. It came into the tournament as a 10 seed. Nothing against Arkansas. I really like the job Cal did this year in putting things back together in Fayetteville. But, Texas Tech had to get red hot for about 8 minutes there at the end of the night on Thursday just to survive Arkansas. They're not going to be able to get away with that against Florida. And this thing
No.
opened 4.5, jumped out right away to 6.5. This is one that even if it gets out to 7.5, I think I'm with John here, and I'm probably the only play is Florida.
It's the only play. You can make a real strong case that Tech should be hoping for an east wind in Lubbock, because if you've been to Lubbock, you don't want a west wind. A wind from the west, you know what you're smelling, and it's cows. That's all you smell. You're hoping for an east wind. That's where they belong. That's where they belong right now, but they didn't, because Arkansas in part fell apart and Tech took advantage of it. But the reality is that they needed that. To be fair to them, every team that advances in this tournament throughout history has to have one of those games. Florida had one against UConn. You got to have one of those games where you kind of figure your way through it, and you got to fight through, and perhaps that was that game for Texas Tech.
No, I think Choppy's right on both accounts. That's a good point on Florida, man, because they maybe should have lost that game against UConn, and they survived. And for a team that doesn't have that much tournament experience, for a coach that had never won a tournament game, it's kind of like you're smelling salts a little bit, right? You're like, oh, okay, we can't just coast anymore. We got to get serious about this. And even today, like you guys talked about, I mean, it didn't look great at times in the first half, but I think that's the separator with Florida is they have that switch. They got it, and they can rattle off 14 in a row on you.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if the numbers from the round of 32 in the Sweet 16, which saw favorites of 3 points or more, 15-2 straight up, if that holds going into the regional finals. The other big one, we've talked about it a little bit already, a couple points throughout the show. Duke, Bama, also sitting right around 6.5 total, as Choppy mentioned earlier, is like, you guys remember the game on The Price is Right with the yodeler guy that climbed the mountain while he was yodeling until he went over the top? Yep, exactly. It feels like there is no top for the mountain, a top of the mountain for this yodeler to fall off the edge. Like, you could just keep climbing that total up and up The Price is Right mountain, and I'm still probably going to take the over. Despite the fact that, like I said, I think Duke probably wants to slow this thing down to a half-court kind of churn where they can work it, find their best shot options, and also keep Bama from running it out, like I mentioned earlier, and scoring points in transition, where they ended up putting up a lot of their three-point attempts the other night against BYU. So what do you make of this, Choppy? I know you came into the tournament believing in dogs and unders, but is it Bama and over then for you? You gonna be the contrarian against yourself?
Oh, I'm taking the over. I have learned my lesson on this one. Now, I might take the under in the Midwest because they're playing in a football stadium, and you never know how that's going to be. But when it comes to Bama right now and the way Duke is playing too, I think we might get to the end of this game on Saturday night, and we might see a game that totals 200 points.
Yep.
I think we might see both teams hit 100, which I can't remember ever seeing in college basketball, where both teams hit 100 in regulation. But we might see it.
We might end up with 60, 73 pointers taken between these two teams, John. I mean, Bama and Duke, for one thing, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I do think it's going to be really fun to watch, if nothing else.
Oh, yeah, this is elite. This is an elite game. pros up and down the court. Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, LeBaron Philon, Malawach, Isaiah Evans. I mean, they got pros, man, all up and down this court. Thought Grant Nelson really did a good job tonight rebounding the basketball. He was just a killer on the boards. I don't know. I just think, they're so good at shooting the basketball, man. Like, they have shooters all around the court. And yeah, man, I'd be fine with over and pretty much any number. And I think Duke is comfortable playing that, that pace too. They, obviously would like to slow it down, but I think they would be comfortable too. So, I think it's going to be, one of the games of the tournament for sure.
Yeah, like I said, I'm on the over. The Bama plus 6.5 is interesting because, Duke is so good. I mean, they've got literally NBA players everywhere. It's hard to really say that they're going to win a game by fewer than 7 points right now. But I don't know. I have a tough time if you're going to have a team that is that hot from beyond the arc that can make 20 plus threes. I mean, how am I going to bet against that?
Yeah, that's really hard for me to bet against. If you're forcing me to take a side on this one, Bama plus the 6.5, I think is the play for me as well. I think it's going to be tight. I do think it goes like you said, Choppy. It could end up being a 101-100 kind of game, and it wouldn't shock me at all. Like it sounds crazy, but I think I think we're going to have an instant classic kind of game.